Lane.
Yeah, Ez.
What? We're just fired up here. Still fired up.
We're fired.
Right? And I wanted to go round 2 here.
Wait, are we fired or are we fired up?
Fired
like the
up.
Amazon writers?
Hold on now. Breaking news. Lane and Ez have been fired from an unexpected podcast. Who knows, right? We'll see.
I think Cliff and Justin are going to take our places.
The numbers was just through the
roof. Would that be a demotion for them, or what would that be?
Yeah, unfortunately it would. No, but and again, just gosh, I don't even know what to say here. So I guess my question to you was going to be this: what's wrong with taking that headline that let me go back to it real quick. So the headline that we were talking about in the last video is that Amazon fires entire Lord of the Rings writing team, and I think that's excessive. I don't think that it's I don't know that they fired them. We don't know. We do not know that. That is rumor. That is rumor. Right. So
the operative word is fire. There, fire is a word that is used incorrectly a lot.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's
a trigger word.
Yes, it is, and there's a connotation associated with it that's not good. Right? It's leaves a bad taste in your mouth. So I would say, and again, we don't have sources. We don't know. But I'm going to speculate. Yeah. I'm going to speculate here because everyone else seems like
it's free game.
I think it's okay for showrunners, execs, or director, whoever, to say, you know what? Can we bring in some different writers? Let's bring in some different folks and see what they think about. Let's look over those scripts. Let's then kind of look towards season 2 and let's see what we can do here. Let's bring in a more It also could just be a lot of projects right now. A lot of studios are saying, let's make this more collaborative. Let's not put it all on one person's shoulders. Let's spread this around a little bit. And also in an effort to try to make a really good product,
Yes.
So I kind of, that to me is what I would rather look at it this way and say, maybe that's a great thing. Maybe that's an awesome thing that's happening. And maybe there was they signed for some 5-year contract. Again, that was something else that was mentioned in a live stream from the onering.net. But I don't, you can change those things. I mean, it can, that's okay.
See, and just because the show is signed on for 5 years doesn't mean the team is always going to be the same. My first thought when I heard that was, and again, like ignoring that word fire, I thought, well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with bringing in a whole new team of writers? Why wouldn't that mean a more diverse show? Why wouldn't that be a more interesting show? Why wouldn't that mean a whole slew of different perspectives? Why wouldn't that keep things fresh for season 2? I think sometimes, and we were talking about this before, I think sometimes, like, even if you watch too much of something that the same people have produced, you pick up patterns. Creators are just like everyone else. They have things that they fall back on. They have things that they do time and time again. They use similar themes. They might use similar direction when instructing their actors. They might write similar lines, or they might not even similar lines necessarily, but a script that has a similar kind of arc, similar cadence in like the way it's written, similar writing techniques, right? So I don't know. And sometimes when that happens, you're like, oh, yeah, you can tell this is a blank movie, or you can tell that so-and-so wrote this. And it can be a good thing, but it can also be like, okay, I think I need a break from this for a while. I want to go watch something different, something else. I don't know why that's seen as a bad thing. To me, I think this is them ensuring that this is as diverse a show as Middle-earth itself. Mm-hmm. I see it as I think the mistake that some shows make is, oh, that person did this thing good, and it was the most popular thing that we've done so far, best thing we've done so far. Let's ride this pony. Let's ride him until he dies, or ride her until she dies. And I think, why? Why do you want to milk something clean? Like, why can't you think, I like that spark there? Okay, now who can add to this spark, or who can blow on this to turn it into flame?
Sure.
Or who can... They've started the fire over here. Who can start it over on this side?
Yeah.
Who can make this fire bigger? Terrible like metaphors or visual. I don't know.
I think I like
analogies. Yeah. But like, I just think to myself, I see that line or that headline. I think they are going to do whatever it takes. They're going to be bold. they are going to plumb the depths and search the world for the best writers to contribute to this show. And I think, we saw the list of writers, and it's too many to even remember. I mostly remember like certain projects they were attached to, and they were all shows and movies that I loved or that I knew had critical acclaim, even if I hadn't seen them, But I think to myself, there are way more. That's not like the only good shows and movies that have been around, the writers for season 1. There are so many other genres and different styles of media, people who've written in different areas that could come and contribute to the show in a different season. We also don't know the difference between season 1 and season 2.
Right.
We also have no idea
That's true.
the setup for how these 5 seasons are going to go. They have been so good at keeping secrets locked up. And I think that's why you get some of this frustration. I think that's why you get words like fired and, resorting to calling people you don't know green or implying that they're not adults, that kind of stuff, because we don't know anything.
We don't know anything.
Yeah, and people are uncomfortable with that. And I think certain people who've gotten used to getting inside information or who've had spies that maybe 50% of the time it's yielded truth think, well, gosh darn it, what are we going to fill our pages with? Like, what are we going to talk about? This is just nonsense. So we got to create something. But I think that because of that, like, we don't know the outline of the show. We don't know what these seasons are going to encompass. We don't even know, like, maybe season 1 is one group of people, like one group within Middle Earth, and season 2 is a totally different part of the world.
Right. And so
that
you have
would require
different
a different writing style. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I thought about that, and I think I look at what is happening in at Lucasfilm with Disney and The Mandalorian, bringing on different directors, different writers.
Yeah.
Other projects are doing it. They have Brian Cogman on here from the Game of Thrones, which
I always forget he's still involved, dude.
Yeah,
Cogman is there.
He's there. And I think you're looking at there. I mean, as you said, these are veteran writers who had written for like Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, Hannibal, Stranger Things. There's more, Toy Story 4, and so on. So like, these are really great writers. And as McKay kind of said in his Twitter feed there, it's not just one person. We're not just blaming like, well, that one writer was bad and that was terrible and it kind of threw everything off. It's like, no, and also everyone's spirit's in the right place. You're trying to do the best thing that you can. You're trying to write the best thing, direct the best episode, what have you. Yeah. These people come and go, by the way, Lane. So like, you have people, the reason you have a showrunner is because they're it. They're staying there. This is their project. They're putting their name to this. You will have a writer come on for this episode, and then you'll have a different writer, and so on. And it's and they may be on for 3 episodes, and then boom, they're overwriting another. They're writing for Stranger Things again, or for another animated movie or whatever. They have other projects lined up, but you have showrunners who are looking at this across multiple seasons and trying to make sure there's continuity and everything. And I think that's an important thing that people are forgetting too, is that Payne and McKay won this job. Yeah. Yes. They won this job based on their vision. They had a vision that arced multiple seasons. Like, they had to go in and convince, it was Jennifer Salk. And then, here's the other thing too. Jeff Bezos is a very hands-on guy. Yep. Okay. I know that, you could say like maybe the Lord of the Rings show isn't his priority, but he's a huge Lord of the Rings fan. So I'm sure it's on his watch list. I'm sure he's keeping tabs on it. I'm sure he would have wanted to known how meetings with the showrunners went. I'm sure he's with his Prime Video executive saying, let me know who wins this job, and I want to talk to him too, or I want to know why. Okay? The richest man in the world, right? So they won this job. Let's not forget that their vision won them this. Probably, who knows? Maybe in years to come we'll find out who the other contenders were. But that's huge. And we don't know. You're right. Television is so different from movies. And maybe that's also why we're freaking out, because films,
it's like 1, 2, or 3. You know, Lord of the Rings was different. It had never been done that they filmed like 3 films at once. So it was also another reason that people said, this is never going to succeed. Well, this is going to fail. What are they thinking? What if film 1 is terrible and they have 2 more lined up? And that was even a fear of Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson thought, oh my gosh, man, I hope people receive this well. Because just because we make a good movie doesn't mean people are going to receive it well. And he was very cognizant of that. He thought, this is really I'm pinning the rest of my career on 3 films at once. So, but usually for films, it's like one team of like 4 or 5 writers. It's smaller. It's the same the entire time. And so since our experience in Middle Earth has been through films, maybe this is also throwing people for a loop, right? It's a lot of people involved. It's rotating, just like television shows do. I mean, like, look at how many directors are involved in television shows. It's people come on and they guest direct. You know, like that's a thing that happens. And the same with writing. You know, it changes. It rotates. And I don't know, like, so they do. We don't know the contract the writer signed. We know how long the show is supposed to last. But I'll use a sports analogy. LeBron James signs or Michael Jordan back in the day. Michael Jordan was notorious for doing 1-year deals. He would never commit. He always wanted to stay in Chicago, but he wanted to be there as long as Phil Jackson was there. Okay,
sure.
So I'm talking sports ball. I'm sorry, but he would sign for years a 1-year contract. Is MJ leaving next year? Is he retiring? Is he staying? Then he'd sign another year contract, 1 year at a time. Now, on MJ's last year contract, they win their 6th championship and he retires, right? No one said, well, the Bulls fired Michael Jordan. They fired him. He signed a 1-year contract and he didn't come back for more.
Right.
That could be exactly what's happening here. These writers were communicated with before, perhaps, that, hey, guys, it might be 1 season, it might be more, but at minimum, it's gonna be 1. And or it could have been as clear as, we want you for the 1st season. Okay, that's not firing someone.
No, it's not. And also, it's like, let us know what your interest level is. Do you have other projects you're working on? Maybe they said, hey, here's my time commitment. Here's what I can do. New Zealand's way, like, to be there, like, for rewrites and stuff like that is a lot. You do need kind of like a core group, and it's like, hey, maybe I'm there. It just depends on your time commitment. That was a big deal for the actors, right? To go there and in the films, anyways, to like live there and stay. So it's way more complex, and it's just not something that's real cut and dry. And the entire writing room is fired. That's the headline, and I just don't think that that's the case, or that it's that And if it is, if I'm completely wrong and that's actually what happened, they came in and they said, look, that wasn't great, and we're letting all of you go. See, that's extreme. That is absolutely extreme. And so at that point, I will eat every word I have said, and I will just sit there with my cake in the corner, and I would just watch the kitchen burn for a second. I mean, I don't want that, man. It's crazy. That's crazy.
I think you can take a sip of your milk and feel like that's not even a possibility. Because here's my thing. Like,
I don't think it's a possibility. No, I don't.
I don't either. Why would they start writing season 2 if season 1 was garbage? So say that happens. Say season 1 is written and they're executing it and they're like, wow, okay, let's go fire all the writers and get a bunch of new writers. But not for season 1, not to rewrite season 1. Let's just start on season 2 and hope that it's better. That doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't make any sense, especially with the longer timeline they've been given, and especially with how little they've actually filmed. I think a lot of this is coming from, well, at least what we heard on the oneclickbait.net's live stream was, well, these writers, they got a lot of time on Twitter. That was the biggest piece of evidence I heard. Well, I mean, they're tweeting all the time. They sure got a lot of free time. I'm thinking, like, A, the show's on hiatus because of the pandemic. That's glaring, okay? And B, if season 1 is done, as a writer, unless you're one of the writers working on rewrites, in which case, if the show isn't currently in production, you wouldn't be doing rewrites, or it wouldn't be as pressing as it would be if, like, oh wow, that scene's next week or that scene's tomorrow and we got to fix some things, let's get it done now. Then maybe you're like everyone else and spending more time on social media during this time. Right. Am I wrong? Like,
no.
Again, grasping at straws. I think just because the writers that are involved are more active on their social media doesn't confirm a rumor you've heard that they've all been fired. That's like saying Ezra is drinking diet pop, he must be anti-water. He must be. He must hate water. He must not even shower. I bet he showers in Diet Coke.
And Diet Pop. Oh man, yeah. I know. It's
not a logical conclusion is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, back to the original point, which is even if they're let go or they said, hey, look guys, we're not going to have you guys back on season 2. Thanks so much. Like there could be reasons for that, and those reasons don't need to be bad.
Yeah.
And maybe it's like we're not bringing everyone back, but we're going to bring this one guy back, or so maybe there's 2 of them who are like moving on to different. It's just so many options. It's wild.
I know.
The other big thing was the Tom Shippey news, and I want to just end with this real quickly because it got me thinking. You're a consultant who is trying to, as much as possible, keep the show. Make sure that there's continuity between like what we know about the Second Age and Tolkien's work and the spirit of that, and trying to make sure that it's authentic, etc. Right?
Yes.
So I would just give you one example. So Brandon Sanderson, and I'm going to go back to this again, was who finished the Wheel of Time series. Amazon, by the way, this is another Amazon production, Wheel of Time.
Yep, which is going very smoothly, right?
Going very smoothly. Great, actually.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Is there a oneclickbait.net equivalent for Wheel of Time?
Actually, dragonmount.com. I'll give you a plug there. And actually, I wouldn't say they're an equivalent because all of the reporting there is based upon facts.
Thank you.
And it is based upon what is released from. Yeah, you have Reddits. You have Reddits that come out and say stuff, but it's wonderful. And that's what we're saying.
Is there a Jordan professor? Is there a Jordan professor? Sorry.
Not that I know of.
Okay. All right.
No.
That makes sense that there's not news about the show not going well. All right.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but my thing there is that you had a consultant in Brandon Sanderson who finished the books and who was in talks and listened to the Jordan tapes, read all the notes and everything. And they're bringing that person in to the show who was just a fantasy writer. Okay.
Yes.
Just to say like, hey, what do you think about give us your 2 cents on this. That individual left. Brandon left. He went, and people are like, hey, what was the experience like? He said, production's great. He actually gave a few details, which, by the way, is more than anything we have here from, like, well, anything from Tom Shippey. We got nothing. We have nothing, by the way. We've just been listening at the door of the kitchen where the cake is being prepared. But in this example, Brandon says now they are making changes. There are things that I wasn't quite on board with, but overall, it's a very good production. It's a really good adaptation, but there will be things that are going to be different and they're going to be abrupt. Now, I don't know that I needed to hear that, but that was said, and there's reasons for it. Here's the other thing, too. These books in Wheel of Time and in The Lord of the Rings were written a long time ago, and we live in a different time where people were asking, like, how are you going to be more inclusive? What are you going to do to better represent the people who are like the consumer and things like that, Yeah. And so that may not go well with someone who is sort of like, that is not Tolkien.
Purists. Yes.
Yeah. And like, that's not. And so then there may be some back and forth on that. I think it's all academic back and forth. I don't think it's anyone super like raging. There's animosity. I think everyone understands that there's going to be some difference and that they need to, this needs to be successful. It does need to reach the masses. It needs to be in more than just the dining room where we are, where we're hearing a bunch of negative reports that have no sources and that are not really, I don't know. I'll say, I've already said enough on that, but yeah.
No, I think that's a great point to bring up that comparison. I think also we could do a video about this, the comparison of the productions. And the point I was driving at is there's less bureaucracy, it seems like, for the Wheel of Time. There's less people who have stake in the claim of those worlds or have been around long enough who've been involved in previous projects, because there have been no previous projects for there to be all this like mudslinging. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's why, again, it's a big adaptation that's happening that not a lot of people know about. But there's not as many people going, well, I want the inside. No, I want the inside. So there's less negative news. Shocker. What a weird parallel.
No, that's interesting. So, people are just waiting for the cake, I'll say it.
Yeah. and Brandon Sanderson is still alive, right? Brandon Sanderson was someone who knew Robert Jordan, Robert Jordan trusted him, the original author, the creator, trusted Brandon Sanderson to finish the novel. So, or the series. How many did he do, 3 or 4 novels?
I think it was 3, pretty sure.
3. Yeah. Okay. So let's say he did 3, right? That's a first person source. All right.
Yes. Yeah.
So the Wheel of Time has a first person source. So he has the authority to say, you know what, in the show, let's change some stuff. That's all right. That's kind of like George R.R. Martin. The difference with, and I'm driving at a point here. I promise I'll get there. The difference in Middle Earth is you don't have Tolkien. You don't even have Christopher Tolkien, his son, anymore. You've got the estate. Okay. Yeah. So you've got a group of family members who have sworn their devotion to protect the purity of their patriarch's work as much as possible. All right. They're an entity. Now, they sell the rights for the show to Amazon, which is another entity. They're too big and have too many different even ideas within their estate to work directly with Amazon. So they need a runner. All right. They need Tom Shippey. Now I'm not belittling the genius Tom Shippey. He is amazing. I don't say that sarcastically. I would be honored to meet Tom Shippey.
Oh yeah.
So when I heard that he was involved, I was ecstatic. I was like, dude, this man is legit. This man is a true Tolkien professor. Okay. Yeah. He knew the man. He wrote about the man. Like, he has devoted his life. He's almost, I mean, in what he does, he's almost on, he's not in the same realm as Tolkien, but in his craft, he is like, in my mind, a comparable artist to Tolkien in the way that he has communicated who he was as a man to the rest of us. All right. But all that being said, what his role really boils down to is not a creator. By being a consultant for this show and working with the estate and Amazon, the Amazon showrunners and creators and writers, you could boil his role down as to a fact checker.
Yeah.
A fact checker. That is so much different from Brandon Sanderson in The Wheel of Time. He helped create and finish those stories. Tom Shippey never wrote a page or had an influence of The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit or any of the Unfinished Tales or The Silmarillion. He was not an author, a co-author, an editor. He knew Tolkien. He wrote about Tolkien. He wrote about Tolkien's works. Okay? But when it comes down to it, and the point I'm getting to is Sanderson can be around for filming. Sanderson can be there for table reads. Sanderson can say, hey, I'll pop in every once in a while and you guys can pick my brain and I'll let you know what I think. Yep. But in my mind, if Tom Shippey is let go for a little bit, it's because, Tom, we're not going to change anything. Let the Tolkien estate know that what we have written is set in stone. We will not add or take away a thing without notifying you. We don't need you for a little bit.
Yeah.
He's a fact checker. He's making sure that what they've created lines up and doesn't change with what Tolkien's written. That's it.
No, 100%. That's it. And last thing, there one more point here before we wrap up here. You said that you said this before. I don't remember if we had this recorded or if we were just talking, just you and me. But you said that he may not have understood in completely like the role, or maybe you do understand it, but you see something going on and you say, "Gosh, I'm so passionate about this. I want to tell the showrunners that this is the way I think it should go," or maybe that, and that's where I think those academic debates can happen, or where you have differences, creative differences, and that literally is okay. Yep. Like, that's not a bad thing, and there could be a very good reason why they're doing that. And there even may be pressure higher up, beyond Payne and McKay, who's saying like, we want this angle or this element in our show for sure, and that's a go. Yep. But it really doesn't fit. We just don't know. And I'm speculating here because we have nothing.
I know.
Again.
We have nothing. We have nothing. And the other thing, too, is so say worst case scenario. Say Tom Shippey really has been fired. That doesn't mean that, new bridges can't be built, fences can't be mended, right? I mean, it's so funny that it's like, if you look at how long this show's going to last, it's still in its infancy, right? We haven't seen a minute of it yet. So that doesn't mean that Shippey, maybe it's like you said, maybe they had a disagreement, and maybe Shippey said out of his passion, he's like, I won't stand for this. If you want to, fire me, but this is a sticking point with me. And they said, okay, well, you're fired. Maybe. That doesn't mean they couldn't have time to settle down and think, if that's even the case, and say, Tom either come back and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I was out of line. Yeah, I would love to work with you again. Tolkien estate has my, or vice versa. The showrunners like, you know what, like, or executives, whoever, writers are like, Tom, we're sorry. Let's get back together. Let's not give up on each other, Tom. Okay. We got each other.
I'm going to say this one more time before we close. We don't know. I don't think anyone else other than Tom Shippey, the writing team, the director, and the showrunners actually know.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So since those are the people that know, and they know the entire situation, they know what went down. All we're saying is the narrative that went out had carried with it a lot of negative tone and connotation, like the word choice, the lack of adults in the room, green showrunners, things like that. That honestly just disappointed me, because I was just sort of like, we don't even know if that's actually true, so
right.
I guess is all I'm saying. So I wanted to be a voice that was counter to that said, we do need to just sit down and wait. And actually we need somebody to hop up there, get on the table like the Hobbits, dance for a little bit, play some music. Yeah. All right. And let's, what I'm saying? Let's open our books. Let's read some Tolkien. Let's get after it. Like,
we'll do
that's
it.
That's what
Stop asking
do.
us. We'll do it.
And so we've only done this because we've had so many people ask us about it, and we're just sort of like, okay, fine. I guess like it was a little upsetting when we finally went and looked and saw what was going on. And it's too bad that it's, I'll tell you this, Lane, when it reaches us way down here in the Shire, like when that news gets all the way to the Shire,
that's pretty serious.
That's what I'm saying is there's not much. And so you're a big news source, and that's also what you make yourself out to be. So I don't know. I just, when we hear about it clear over here, we're just little old hobbits. We don't know anything. And when people are running to ask us, that means it went somewhere. And that means
here's the other thing.
Took off for a second. It got the attention of people, got the attention of the showrunner too. So yeah.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. Yeah, it's big time. I mean, that's a huge point to state as well. And here's what I'm going to say in closing, man. Like, I'm okay with not knowing any of the details. Are you?
I'm okay with it.
I don't care if anyone ever tells us. I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I trust these guys for whatever reason. I trust Payne and McKay. I feel like they're good dudes. I feel like they're lifelong fans. I feel like they're Frodo and Sam. And I don't need to know details. This is not a cry for someone to come tell us. If Tom Shippey wanted to call us, no problem, man. We'll pick up the phone. We'll listen. We're not going to talk. We're just going to sit there and listen like the Hobbits in Tom Bombadil's house. But I don't need to know either. That's okay. I just don't want fake stories and lies out there, because we see in these stories and in real life, obviously, what that does. And it's trying to inform and color our minds before we even see a minute of the show. It's trying to get us to enter the show to receive it less than, because certain people may not have liked how the show was executed, and they may not have liked that they were left off the short list.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And here's the, final thing. I think I've said that 3 times.
I got 30 seconds and I'm not going to be able to record.
Wow. Now. Okay, fine. Eggshells. I just don't want to, I don't want to be looking for eggshell. The cake's going to be fine. I'm not worried about it. We love you guys. Thanks so much. Please subscribe.
Have you ever eaten eggshells?
No. They've ended up good, in my, they're fine. I'm not worried about them at all. So, but we do love you guys. And honestly, we're not knocking it. We just want people to just be happy, excited, enjoy this, and have fun with it. It's going to be great. Please subscribe, what have you, to Corey, to theonering.net. We still love you guys. It just this, just take this and kind of, this is what it's done. When it's reaching the Shire, it's kind of taken off a bit, and we don't know what's going on, but that's all I'm going to say. Frodo lives, friends. We'll see you next time.